Hello everyone and welcome back to day 4 of our F125 Hotlap and Setup series. This time round we head to Bahrain, of course, the Sakhir Grand Prix. I think one of my favourite tracks on the F1 calendar. I used to hate this venue, but I slowly learned to love it in more recent years, and especially with the new remodel for F125. The curbs are a lot less aggressive. This is a circuit you can now really attack inside the F1 game. Of course, as always, today we're going to be running through a race setup to help you improve around this venue. Of course, timestamps as always will be linked down below, so if you want to watch the hot lap, if you want to learn what you need to be looking for around this circuit, or you just want to head over to the setup or just see the hot lap, of course you can do so with those timestamps below. A massive thank you to everybody that has already hit that subscribe button. Like I've said before, we're trying to hit 15k subs on the channel, so if these setups are helping you out, it would be greatly appreciated if you could help us get one step closer. But yeah, without further ado then, let's head into our track guide. While making our way then down in towards the final corner then of the Sakhir circuit, a fairly standard length venue on the F1 calendar at just over 5 kilometers, third gear through the final corner, and I would say to start a lap, you probably want to be avoiding the outside curb. Now, a pattern that I seem to have noticed around this venue, inside curbs now you can really attack, outside curbs not so much inside F125. Keep the car over on the left-hand side as you make your long run in towards turn 1. You're going to be at about 200 miles an hour, and you're focusing for the start of the curb in towards that first braking zone. In race trim, I would be braking pretty much here at the start of where you can see kind of the little access road onto the circuit. But in qualifying trim, you can be a little bit more aggressive, and you want to be braking pretty much at the start of the curbing. From 8th gear, you want to be getting all the way down into 2nd. Try to avoid locking the inside wheel, and then once you've got most of the speed scrubbed off, you're trying to tuck the car in, ready for turn 1. Avoid the curbing on the inside, but don't let the car drift out too far wide on the exit. Keep it tidy, short shift up through 3rd, and then you want to be trying to take turn 2 completely flat out. Quick shift up to 4th on the way through, and then on the exit you can really attack that curbing there as you go through the apex of turn 3. Open up the DRS, you're going to allow the car to move back over to the left hand side of the circuit as you make your way up the hill. Again, in race trim, I would be braking pretty much at this access road, but on a qualifying lap, you can brake just before the 100-meter board. From 8th gear all the way down into 3rd for the apex, avoid the curbing on the inside, be really careful on the throttle until you go over the crest of the hill. Short shift up to 4th, use the lot of curb on the exit again, and now you're cycling through into the S's. Don't try to go over the curbing, but as soon as you hit it, flick the car in. You're going to be 6th gear there, just a tiny nudge of the brake, and then back on the throttle right the way through. Unlike previous games, you can massively use these curbs now inside F125. It is so good when you get it hooked up, and again, trying to get the inside wheels up over that inside curbing as well. Like I said, 6th gear wide open all the way through, bring the car back over to the left hand side, and just as the white line on the inside kind of straightens up for the hairpin, you want to be getting on the brakes once again there. Run wide on the way in, really use the curbing. 2nd gear through the apex of the corner. You can short shift to 3rd. I find it helps a lot in race trim, but avoid the exit curb as well. It's far too bumpy and will really upset the car then. Up the hill though, you're going to be up in 6th gear. You want to make sure that you go for quite a late apex. Try and get the car as straight as you possibly can, as early as you possibly can there. Use the outside curbing again, and then try and get the car in 2nd gear through the apex of the corner. I again like to short shift up through 3rd on the exit, and again, avoid that curb. It can just sometimes throw the car out and will make your life a little bit awkward. All the way up through 7th gear then, as you make your way down the alternate start-finish straight, you want to be looking just after the 100-meter board at this dark blue line. This is your reference point for the braking in towards this final sector of the lap there. From 7th gear all the way down to 4th, try to take a load of curb there, get again the front inside wheel wedged over that curbing. Back up to 5th. Don't allow the car to run too far wide, because you want to get up through 6th gear there, and just as the circuit straightens out, flick the car in. Again, completely wide open, and on the exit of the corner, you want to be again using all of the curbing. I feel like I've said it far too much inside this video. You want to brake just before the curb kind of starts arcing around to the right-hand side. Get the car back over the inside of the curbing, And of course then bring the car steadily through there. Fourth gear, again, sometimes I'll go down to third just to get the weight over the front end, but short shift up to fourth on the exit. You can run a little bit wide off of the corner, but it will punish you quite aggressively. So I believe on our lap we don't actually use that outside curbing as much as you can get away with. Final corner then, again, you're going to be all the way up in 7th gear, brake just as you go under the gantry, all the way down in towards 3rd there. Nice tidy apex through the final corner, allow the car to run wide on the exit, short it back up to 4th, be careful a little bit with the outside curving again, and then you're going to be flat to the 4 on the run towards the line. Like I said, it's a very, very different circuit to what we saw back on F124 and previous F1 games. It's definitely a bit quicker. You can definitely attack a little bit more inside F125, and it's a whole lot of fun once you've kind of learned what you can and can't get away with here in Bahrain. Anyway, let's head back to the pit lane then, and I'll talk you guys through the setup. Well, back in the garage then, as you can see, someone has clearly hacked a lap time in the last half an hour or so, but Thomas Ronhar, fastest in the world there. We're about 1.8 seconds away, but again, I'm not an F1 Esports level driver, and also, of course, this is a race setup, so it will be slightly slower than some of the one lap lap times you see inside this game. Again, we've gone quicker than GB, which I'm pretty happy with as well there. But taking a look at the setup, of course, in the car, you want to run 3227 aerodynamics. Again, where you can attack the curbs a lot more this year, there's actually a little bit more aero dependency because, there's more to be gained through the corners. So 3227 provides, I think, a good balance. It still gives you enough straight line speed, but if you want to try and obviously fly through the order in a race, then you can run this down to like 28-23 if you're feeling quite brave. Transmission 90-40 is what I'm using around this venue. Again, there's a couple of really, really big traction zones, and you kind of want to be able to throw the car around. So having quite a locked diff will allow that rotation through the car. It will make it slightly more unstable. If you find you're spinning, I would say potentially bring that on throttle diff down to about 80%, and that should hopefully do the trick. Front and rear camber, of course, you can see minus 3.3, minus 1.8, and then 0.01 and 0.11 for the camber and the toe angles. Again, it seems to be the meta inside this game that you're running close to minimum around a lot of the circuits, but Bahrain can be a real tyre killer, so I've opted just to run it ever so slightly away from the absolute minimums here. 38.3 front and rear suspension, slightly softer front suspension than normal, slightly firmer suspension at the rear than what we've seen so far. The max minimum doesn't really work around this circuit, at least in my experience. 914 on the front and rear anti-roll bars, and then 2350 for the ride height. Again, if you kind of find the cars bouncing around a little bit too much, I would up that to, say, 2652, but I wouldn't go much higher than that around this circuit. 5498 is just kind of my brake pressure inside this game. Again, if you're struggling with front locking, bring it up to 55, or bring the brake pressure down to about 96. I find those two work really well as a good combination. And then, of course, as always, tyre pressures, absolute maximum fronts, absolute minimum rears. Again, if you're struggling for tyre wear here, though, I would say you can up the rear tyres to about 22, and that should give you a little bit more life. This race, like most inside F125, should be a one-stop strategy, but Bahrain is easily one of the toughest circuits inside the game. So about 12 laps on the mediums and then 17 laps on the hards. If you can stretch the mediums one lap extra, you're going to gain quite a lot of time towards the end of a GP. But thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts and feelings. Hopefully this helps you out inside F125. Get yourself subscribed, and I will leave you guys with another hot lap.